3 years ago, I handed over the keys to our house, packed everything we owned into a storage unit, and walked onto a cruise ship. Let me tell you from experience that some things that you assume about this lifestyle may be wrong. Hi everyone, my name is Tori from KirkToriStory. Welcome back to this channel where back in late 2022, Kirk and I made the craziest decision of our lives. We sold our home in Canada, packed up everything we owned, and set sail to live full-time on cruise ships. No house, no mortgage, just the two of us and the ocean. 3 years later, and we're still here. And in that time, we've learned some things that nobody told us before we started. So today, I'm sharing some insights about what this life actually looks like. 10 things nobody tells you. Some of this may surprise you, and some of it might make you want to book a ship immediately, and some of it might make you want to think twice. Secret number 1, the anonymity secret. This one genuinely surprises people when we tell them. Nobody, when we're on the ships, know us. The passengers, the crew, the cruise line. Nope, nobody. And here's how this actually started for us. We didn't move onto one ship and stay there. We ship hop. One cruise ends and the next one starts. And we've been stringing them together back to back since day one. And what that means is every single ship we step onto, we're just like every other passenger on board. Nobody knows we live this way. Nobody knows we just came off of a ship last week. To everyone around us, the crew, the other guests, we're just a couple on vacation. And that's one of the greatest secrets of this lifestyle. There's no label, there's no weird looks, no, wait, you live here? Conversations if we don't want them. We blend in completely. And the moment we want a fresh start, a different ship, a different vibe, different ports, we just get on to the next cruise ship. The way we discovered this was fast. Within the first few cruises, we realized this isn't moving us into a floating house. This is going on a permanent vacation that just never ends. One incredible trip flows into the next, and that reframe changed everything. Now, Kirk and I have been paying full price for our cruises since day one. Like I said, not even the cruise lines know who we are. So no, we're not getting deals, we're not getting free trips, but one thing we have been doing is giving our honest reviews of many of the ships that we've been on so that you can have a better idea of what to expect when you go on a cruise vacation. This brings me to secret number 2. How do we fund these cruises? Here's a secret that I think is really important for people to understand because I see so much confusion about how full-time cruising is actually funded. We still own investments, and those investments are what fund this lifestyle. It didn't happen by accident. Kirk and I worked hard for a long time, and we made very intentional financial decisions before we started ship hopping. We also sold our primary house, so this entire foundation is what makes this sustainable. I wanted to tell you this because I think it's important. We're not magic. We're not hacking some secret system. We didn't find a loophole. We built something over years, and then we made this decision to deploy it in a way that most people wouldn't expect. The cruise fare isn't coming out of thin air. Our investments generate that income. We live on that. And because the all-in cost of ship life, when you factor in what we no longer spend on housing, cars, utilities, and all the rest, is genuinely competitive with what we were spending in Canada. It works. So if you're thinking about this lifestyle, the financial foundation has to come first. This life rewards people who've done the work, and that's okay to say out loud. Secret number 3, the money math is completely different than what you've heard. Most people think this life is either wildly expensive or magically free. The truth? It's somewhere in the middle, but in a way that actually might shock you. Our cabin roughly runs a few thousand a month to thousands a month. That might even seem out of the budget, but it really depends on the type of cabin we choose, the itinerary, and the experience that we want for each particular ship for both of us. And that covers the accommodation, all of our meals in the main dining room, entertainment every single night, and the ship moving us somewhere new every few days. There's no mortgage, no utilities, no property taxes, no restaurant bills piling up, no Canadian heating bill in January, and that alone saves a fortune. Now, there are extras like internet, specialty dining, drinks if you don't have a package, shore excursions. We're transparent about all of that, but when we sat down and compared our total monthly cruise spend to what we're paying in Canada, the mortgage, the car, the groceries, the insurance, all of it, it wasn't as crazy as it sounds. So the key is you have to think of your cruise fare as your rent and your grocery bill and your entertainment budget, all combined. Once you start thinking that way, the math makes a whole lot more sense. Okay, 3 secrets down, and I have 7 more for you, including the one that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with how Kirk and I are wired as people. It might be the secret that tells you whether this life would actually work for you. So please keep watching. Secret number 4. The independence advantage. Here's something about us that makes this lifestyle fit us perfectly, and it might be a clue about whether it would fit for you. Kirk and I are very independent people. We have always liked having alone time. We're not the couple that needs to be around people constantly to feel comfortable, and we're also not antisocial. We genuinely love meeting people and making friends. The ship is absolutely perfect for that combination. On any given day, we can have breakfast alone on our balcony, say nothing to anyone, and completely decompress. Or we can walk into the dining room, sit with people we've never met, and by the end of the dinner have made a genuine connection. We get to decide every single day. Do we want company or do we want quiet? The ship gives you both, always. And because we ship hop, there's no social obligation that follows you from one cruise to the next. If you had a week where you just wanted to keep to yourself, great. New ship, fresh slate. And if you made friends you absolutely want to see again, you can plan to be on the same sailing. Now for secret number 5. Let's talk about the expenses that nobody in the travel blog world ever seems to mention, because they are real and you need to plan for them. First, insurance. We're still Canadian. We still need health insurance, travel insurance, and coverage that works for us as people who are constantly in international waters or foreign countries. That bill does not disappear when you leave home. If anything, it gets more complicated. We've had to be very intentional about finding coverage that actually protects us wherever in the world we happen to be. Second, mail. This sounds small until it isn't. When you don't have a home address, the world can get complicated fast. Banking, government correspondence, any physical document that needs to reach you. We have a system for this, but figuring it out can take a long time. And yeah, we've made some mistakes early on. You need a solution before you leave. Number 3, citizenship. This one matters deeply to us. We are Canadian and we intend to stay Canadian. There are residency considerations, tax implications, and government ties that you simply can't ignore when you leave for an indefinite period. We're very deliberate about maintaining our Canadian identity and the rights that come with it. None of these are reasons not to do this, but they are the unglamorous behind-the-scenes logistics that the pretty cruise photos never show you. Plan for them, get proper advice, and don't wing it. Secret number 6, your body changes in a way that nobody warns you about. Your body is going to change, and not always in the way you expect. When people hear cruise ship, they picture the buffet, unlimited food, dessert at midnight, and yes, that's all completely real. But here's what nobody tells you. When you live on a ship, you also walk constantly. So we easily hit 10,000 or 15,000 steps a day just moving between meals. The deck, the gym, the gangway to get off in port. It's relentless. Kirk and I both noticed something strange in our first year. We were eating more than we ever did at home, and we just kept our weight pretty much consistent. The walking just doesn't stop. The flip side, if you're not intentional, you can absolutely eat your way through a year at sea. The buffet is always there, always. And on sea days, especially long sea days, it can become a habit. So our advice is to treat every port like a workout. Walk everywhere. Skip the ship's shuttle when you can. Use the gym on sea days. Secret number 7, and this is the one everyone asks about in some of our comments and other videos. It's the internet. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's getting significantly better than it was even a couple of years ago. Most cruise lines now run Starlink or equivalent satellite. For basic things like emails, video calls, streaming a show at night, it works. But it is not your home fiber connection. There will be sea days when it does slow down. There will be ports where it randomly drops. And if you're also a remote worker who needs consistent, fast internet for large file uploads or anything data heavy, you need to be realistic about that before you book. So what we do, we treat port days as our heavy internet days. We download what we need, we batch upload content, and we've learned which cruise lines have the best connectivity for what we need and which ones to avoid if you're working remotely. So please drop a comment below if you want us to do a full breakdown of the best cruise lines for remote work, because that list might surprise you. And secret number 8, the community is entirely on your terms. The community on a ship is completely on your terms. Because we ship hop, we are never locked into a social dynamic. Every new ship is a clean slate. If we had an amazing week with people we loved being around, we can choose to sail with them again. And if sailing wasn't our vibe socially, it literally doesn't matter. We step off, we step onto the next ship, and it's a fresh start. What we found is that because of this, the connections we do choose to make are genuinely meaningful. We're not stuck being polite to people we don't click with. We're selecting the people we want to spend time with, and those relationships end up being very real. We've celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and New Year's Eve with people we met on a ship and would genuinely call friends. But that happens on our terms, when we wanted it, the way we wanted it. That's a level of social freedom that most people have never experienced. Secret number 9. This one Kirk and I laugh about now, but it messed with us for months. Time stops making sense. When you live on a ship, the days of the week become completely irrelevant. There's no Monday, there's no Friday, there's no TGIF. Every day is either a day at sea or a day in port, and they blur together fast. So we've stood in a beautiful port somewhere in the world and had no idea what month it was. The ship's schedule replaces your calendar, and it has nothing to do with real life on land. So my advice, set alarms in your phone for every birthday or bill payment you may have, or the appointment that matters back home. Set them and forget them, because your brain is going to fully check out of tracking dates. And secret number 10, home becomes a completely different concept. The concept of home completely changes. Before we started this, home was our house in Canada, our neighborhood, our stuff, and then we sold all of that, put the rest in storage, and the ship became home, slowly but completely. Here's what nobody prepares you for. You will go back to visit. You'll see your friends and family, and at some point you realize that the ship is more familiar to you now than the place that you even grew up in. Visiting land starts to feel strange. You notice how expensive everything is, how loud cities are, and how much stuff people own. And somewhere in the middle of a visit home, you'll be desperate to go back to your cabin, your tiny, floating, wonderful home. Kirk and I look at each other sometimes on a trip back to Canada, and one of us just says, "Can we go back now?" This life rewires you in the best way, but it does rewire you. 3 years at sea, 10 things nobody told us. Nobody knows who we are on any ship we board, and that's a gift. The financial foundation matters, and it has to be built before you start. The money math works if you think about it right. Being independent people makes this lifestyle fit perfectly. There are hidden expenses nobody talks about. Plan for them. Your body changes in a way you don't expect. The internet is better than you think. The community is completely on your terms. Time stops making sense. And home? Home is wherever the ship is. And if you've been sitting on the fence about this life, I hope this gave you the real picture, not the brochure version, the actual version. And if you're brand new here and you want to understand how we actually made this decision, how we sold the house, packed up, and just did it, the story is here. So please subscribe if you haven't. We're Kirk and Tori from KirkToriStory, and I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.